Good evening, YouTube. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Well, good night at this point. Give me a second here. Okay, let me go ahead and get into it. I don't know what it is about, like, I want to say the 24 hours from the last time I go live to the next time I go live that makes me feel like I haven't been live in a while. But I definitely feel like I have not been live in like a while. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just like in another world. I'm in another world, and then I come on here and then I come live. Anywho, I have a bunch of points. Um, Maybe I might edit the name of this live actually. Let me see. I feel like I had something here. Okay, I'll think about that later. Anyway, so I have a number of things that I want to talk about. You see, as the phases of your life change, as things around you change, you tend to forget things. And that's not me, that's like anybody in general. And I'm no different. I tend to forget sometimes how difficult these things were. And a couple things came into my memory today. So I'm just gonna spit it out at random. Anyway, these quote cards that I love so much. 3 came out. I'll read them anyway. So the first one says, God, I'm gonna fight with this word. Unanimity. I don't know how to say this word. And harmony. I'm gonna look it up. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. This is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Then there's another quote that says, immersion and intuition. When you reach the end of what you should know, you will be at the beginning of what you should sense. And that's a quote by Khalil Gibran. And the last one is anticipation. I felt like an arrow pulled back and ready to be launched into something big. A.B. Shepherd. Actually, all 3 of these are very relevant. I like all 3 of these quotes. I felt like an arrow pulled back and ready to be launched into something big. Perhaps that's where we all are. When you reach the end of what you should know, you'll be at the beginning of what you should sense. When you're in gang stalking, you definitely have to use like all 5 senses plus the 6 senses as well. Like you have to be on your toes. There's always something going on, and you definitely need to be in harmony with yourself and at peace with yourself, because this gets very crazy. And that leads me to point number 1, frustration, which is an emotion that we tend to have to live with in this situation for a number of reasons. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which could never be said to be obvious, because you have people working to a specific objective, which is to disconnect you from God, make you upset with God for whatever reason. Well, it's not for whatever reason. They have an intent and purpose as to why they're doing that. When these people make you upset at God, it blocks your connection. because all the hatred, all the anger, turning your back on God, it blocks you from that protection. It blocks you from peace. It puts you in a low vibration. And when you come low enough, their attacks can grab you. And that vibration could be anything. It could be envy of other people. It could be hostility. It could just be thinking that God abandoned you. Now, I can understand. I'm not going to sit here and say I can't understand why people would not think that God abandoned them. It is only normal to think that as the attacks keep getting worse and as it looks like they're working. So it looks like God's not stopping it because God's not. And it looks like God's forgotten about you and God is seeing your suffering and allowing it. And I have another video that I made months ago where I wasn't in a place where I was upset at God about it, but it's like I came on here and I felt like I had to talk to people as to like what is going on, like why is this happening? And I did not have that answer at all. I didn't have the answer to that. I couldn't be able to tell you like, this is happening because I am at a better place with it. And I realize that everything that has happened to me has been training me for something else. And despite the fact that it has constantly felt, I can't lie, from day one, I've never been mad at God or I've never said like, why is this happening? And I think I've explained this in other videos before that I have been through trying periods in life before. And as a result of how I navigated those times in my life, that's what's given me the confidence to navigate this time in my life and know that everything's going to be okay. So for me, it's been easier, and also because I can feel God with me in a very realistic way, like a very human, realistic way. And so because I've been so lucky as to have God so close and almost have God respond in real time to the things that have been going on with me, it's like I don't have a choice. I can't say God's forgotten me. I can't say, it's like I've gotten so many answers that most people wouldn't have. I've gone through my gang stalking experience in a way that I think a lot of people have not. I've gotten answers, I've figured things out, I've gotten explanations. It's been very different for me. Not easier, still difficult, but just I have not been in a situation where I've been tempted to lose my connection with God. However, I do understand that this is a huge thing that people go through. And a lot of people are lost because of this. And what they're intentionally trying to do is to end your relationship with God. And this first got communicated because it came up in a reading. And then the second time it came up was when somebody came into my live stream and they asked, why aren't you mad at God? And I was like, oh my God, they're puzzled. They're like, oh my gosh, we're doing all of this stuff. How comes this person still has such a strong faith? First of all, let's start from the top. This is your only protection in this situation. This is like nobody's coming for you. So God is your only protection in this situation. You cannot afford to turn your back on your only protection. That to me is the very same thing as a couple being in a difficult situation. I see this all the time in real life and wherever. A couple's in a situation and things get rough, and the first thing they do is separate, and that's illogical because it's like you're supposed to be even closer with each other. You're supposed to, I'm not saying that troubles bring you closer, even though they can, but I'm definitely saying, how does it help to go through it alone? Like, unless, of course, people are putting you in those situations to separate you, which people do. People strategically put whether it's couples, families, friends, whatever, in situations to strategically separate them so that they make it difficult. They turn people on each other. These kind of energies are very good at that. Now, I was talking about this very topic this morning in my community section about knowing from a young age, seeing where how relationships would be disseminated in my life, and not talking about gang stalking either, just talking about it's been like a whole lifetime of seeing relationships that I have broken apart for no reason. So by the time I got here, I've already accepted that this is life, this is the way it goes, this is how things work, and it is what it is. Now, sometimes the part that used to really like not drive me crazy but make me question is that a person would have all the evidence they need in front of them to know what kind of person I am. So they've seen that I've given to them, that I've been very good to them. They've felt my aura, they felt my spirit, and especially people with spiritual gifts. And they would still find themselves being hateful and malicious and all of that. And that happens because the problem is inside of them. It's not inside of me. So my vision is clear where I can be like, this doesn't make sense what's going on here. But it's inside of them that something has been triggered. And literally, to separate a relationship, all you have to do is look at a deficiency in person A and look at person B if they excel in that way, and kind of position it a certain way so they could be at odds. So for example, I'll talk about, like, for example, if you have two people who are friends and one of them, I don't know, it looks a certain way and the other one doesn't look that way, all you have to do as a third party coming in is keep talking about the insecurity that you figure that person B has and highlight that person A has it to instigate some sort of jealousy, some sort of competition, some sort. People literally sit there and strategize this stuff. Gang stalkers literally sit back and they literally talk about this. As hard as it is sometimes for me to come to terms with realizing, like, people actually sit back and they strategize and they say, how can we break this friendship up? How can we break this relationship up? How can we? And then they go through and they poke on the insecurity of one person and they say, oh, well, if this person is insecure about, let's say it's a relationship, this person's insecure about women spending their money, so let's talk about this person spending their money. Maybe this person's insecure about people cheating on them, so let's talk about that. Maybe this girl is insecure about guys like not respecting her, let's talk about that. Whatever it is, that's what they play on. And then they create circumstances in person A's life to make it seem as if this is what's actually happening. Then they send spell work to cause this person to be irritated, to cause people to not like each other. It's like putting a cloud over one person's head where they're not likable, they're not believable, they look shady. These are all the things that they sit down and they like literally strategize, and they do this stuff and you could literally see when it's happening. And it's like, we've all been victim to this, but it took to come all the way over here to gang stalking for me to see that people consciously do this. So if people are playing in spell work and doing this now with gang stalking, what is the likelihood that this has been being done behind your back in your relationships the entire time? And it's gonna be right when you get that certain relationship that you want, right when you get a really good friend, or you guys would have made a great duo, or it's always like that, even on social media. It's like this one person, right when they make like this partnership that would take them to the next level or that would really blow them up, that's the one that doesn't work. And if you ask them why it doesn't work, there's probably not a good reason. Then there's other friendships that are not even as solid, where one person stole from the other person. One person slept with somebody else's boyfriend or whatever, and they found a way to mend that friendship. This is the kind of thing you have to look out for. Sometimes it's not necessarily just that the person in your family, in your life, or whatever is no good. They're using any device possible to break up these relationships. So when it comes to the ultimate relationships that are protecting you, these are the relationships that they're going to attack the most, and that is your relationship with God. Me going through this, it was me and God alone. Like, it was literally just me and God. You could not separate the two of us, like, forever, but especially then. So listen, as far as how do you not give up on your relationship with God, it is a decision first and foremost. You decide that you cannot make it through this without God, because that is the truth. You cannot. There are people questioning their relationship with the only shield that they have, with the only comfort that they have. First of all, it is a decision, and the decision is that you're inseparable. No matter what happens, you bring it to God, because I think a lot of times people forget to question God. Just ask, why am I going through this? What is happening? What is gonna happen here? A lot of the times when you talk to God, you expect like an immediate answer, like a voice in your head. No, no, that is not how it always works. There are people that it does work that way for, but you do not want things. Well, listen, I'm not going to say you do not want things to work that way for you. There's a pro and con to everything. There are pros and cons to having spiritual gifts, okay? Let me tell you something. For example, if you can tap into people's energy, you're running from energy a lot of times, because sometimes the things you tap into are so unsavory. I see it with tarot readers all the time. They'll tap into something and be like, no, I gotta get out of here. And they want to get off of the video. You gotta sage, you gotta this, you gotta that. Like, you gotta get out of it immediately because you don't want to be in it. So hearing voices in your head, do you know that people go to the hospital for things like that? You don't necessarily need to hear it like that, but the answer 100% will come. And when the answer comes, you will be shocked and you'll be like, oh my God, I asked this question and I got that answer. That's why you hear Christians say that, where they say God communicated something to them. So, you know, giving you an example of how a communication will come. When I was going through gang stalking, in the beginning of gang stalking, they put so much effort to show you what's going on. And that's where they want the relationships, the betrayals to be like hook. It's almost like they go in and they plant the seeds so that when it falls, it comes like a domino effect. It's pre-planned. So it's like they've whittled their way into these relationships, and then they get to that point and they're like, okay, we're getting rid of it. We're getting rid of it. We're getting, so that you will feel that the world has turned against you, that things are crazy. So when this was happening, I was kind of looking around and I was saying to God, I was like, there's no way you like people. Like, just, there's no way. And as things kept happening, I kept asking God, I'm like, come on, just tell me. I won't tell anyone. It'll be our secret. You don't actually like people. There's no way. There's no way you can tolerate this. This is crazy. And I probably repeated it a couple times on a couple occasions, couple days. And then one day I opened my Bible. Maybe it was a couple days, maybe it was 2 days. I honestly can't remember the time period. It was very shortly after. I opened my Bible and it fell on a verse randomly, and it said, oh, I wish I could find it again. It said something like, God understands people. It wasn't like God doesn't hate people, but it was like, God takes patience with people because God takes patience with man because God understands man, something like that. And it was like, damn, well, I don't understand, but I knew very clearly that that was how God was answering that question for me and making sure. And it was something where it's like I read it once and it was like I totally understood what was being communicated, and why I was reading that, and why I even picked up my Bible at that time in general. It literally boils down to that. That's what it boils down to. It just boils down to, you need to ask. So when you're in a situation where you're pissed off and you're upset, you're like, respectfully, please, always respectfully, always respectfully. But you can ask, you can say, what on earth am I supposed to learn here? Because I've asked God that. There's been so many times I've been like, what am I supposed to learn out of this situation? This is just abusive. There's other times that I've asked, I've been like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm like, why are people like this alive? Why do they exist? Why do people like this exist? These people are causing a lot of pain and suffering. What is the purpose of these people being here? And those answers have come to me. And really, the place that I've come to with gang stalking has been as a result of constantly asking questions. And I can tell you honestly, I do not have one question that's ever been unanswered. The answer doesn't come instantly like this, but you either experience you can literally go through an experience, excuse me, have a conversation with someone, walk away and be like, oh my God, that was the answer to the question that I asked. So in any relationship, the communication is both ways. So you can ask for communication, ask in any relationship, whether that be a relationship with God, or if you have any human relationships, you'd also want to ask questions before you get upset and turn your back. You want to give someone the opportunity to explain themselves. I can tell you, for TI's going through this situation, there's a lot of things happening, and there are a lot of reasons that these things are happening. And as you begin to understand what the reasonings are, sure, you have to continue reminding yourself. All the time, I know the reasons, and I continue to have to keep reminding myself. But as I remind myself, it becomes, every day becomes, how do I put it? It becomes easier to deal with it, of why is this still happening? How comes I'm still going through this, etc., etc. It becomes easier. Because, you just kind of get used to asking a question already knowing the answer. First of all, I want to give a little bit of comfort in this situation, because I know people are wondering what the hell is going on here. First and foremost, gang stalking isolates you enough to meet God in a way that most people never will. They will never get that honor. I want you to forget the chaos around you for a bit. When you are at your wit's end, when you're on your knees, when you're on your last dime, if you can continue reaching out and pleading and staying close to God in the craziest of situations, it's almost like the opposite of a trauma bond. So a trauma bond is kind of like, that's what gang stalkers in a lot of situations want to do to you. It's like they put you in a traumatic situation and you guys bond that way, because it's like, we went through all this hardship together. We're best friends. Remember how far we went. But it's like, with the case of God, it's like, look at how horrible this is. Look at how hopeless this is. Look at how there are no other options whatsoever in this situation. And look at the fact that I'm here with you. Not only am I here with you, but I'm going to take you out of this. If you can stay a while with me, if you can give me an opportunity to work, if you want to learn a couple lessons on the way out, if you're not impatient about the process, if you can trust what's going to happen here, that's what's happening. is that you're going to, if not already, experience God in a way that most human beings who are here do not experience God. You want to really experience God, you got to go through something crazy traumatic that isolates you. You get lost on a desert island or something, or like you are have a near life experience, a near death experience, or you're being gang stalked, or you're in a war. People that come back from these things, when they talk to you about God, they're not talking about the statue at the church in the cathedral, and they're definitely not talking about in like an imaginary way. They talk about God like God is a person, because they'll tell you God had to come and get me. And the passion that they talk with, you feel chills. And the way that they're describing the situation, it's like it doesn't matter how crazy it sounds to you, you're feeling that they're being very authentic about this. This is what's happening to you. You are getting to touch the robe. You're getting to meet the universe in a very, 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 very real way. You will feel overwhelmed. You will feel at peace in chaos. And the Bible describes it as the peace that surpasses understanding. Why are you being gang stalked and you're so confident and so peaceful? You will feel overwhelmed and you will feel honored. And it will take you a while for it to make sense why you, what makes you so special. Is this even real? Is this really happening? Am I it's almost like a part of you is in disbelief, and you'll just be like, maybe I'm imagining all of this. Like, this can't, why me? And you know, the Bible says that the meek will inherit the earth. And meek people are people who, they know that they're good people. Meek people know they bring value, but they're used to cowering. They're used to not putting it on display, not putting in people's face. They just keep it to themselves because of everything that they know it comes with. And meek people do not like confrontation and do not like chaos. And it's like you don't want to go through it, but you know your value. And it's almost like God comes down to your level and says, but you're totally worth it. What do you mean, why not you? Especially you. Especially you. Everything in your life starts making sense. All the bad experiences start making sense. The blessings, you start recognizing that every single thing that ever happened has been a blessing, has been a gift. Even the small things that you didn't really acknowledge, you start recognizing like, no, that was God. That was also God. And you kind of, listen, if you're a person, it depends on what type of person you are. Like for me, I always knew things were outside of me from before. I always knew like, okay, that wasn't quite my idea. Like I know it was in my head, but that one wasn't mine. Or why did I do that? Or I can remember there were times that I had already started learning how to meditate, and there were times that I wanted things. And the things that I wanted, I'm like, why? But why did I want that? That was so left field. That was so abnormal for me to even want something like that. And it's like you just want the things that God wants you to have. And it's random and it makes no sense logically. Like I remember at 18 telling people when I get my house, and they were probably like, oh, she means like, everybody that age, when I get married, when I do this. So people are like, oh, in your 30s and your 40s. I was being dead serious. I'm like, in 12 months. And it's like, they nobody wanted to say anything to me, and they'd be like, yeah, okay, that's cute, no problem, sure, thumbs up. But I was like being dead serious. I'm like, no, I'm gonna get a house. No process of getting, I had no idea like how it was gonna work. I was dead serious though, maybe not, maybe like 20, 21, something like that. And this is the thing, I bought my first house at 22, and when I look back, I'm like, what the hell was somebody my age? People my age don't even care about that. People my age is saving every penny, and people around me were going to like festivals and like, I don't know, like doing like random things, and like it's like things just worked out differently for me. Like if I was kind of seeing someone and I wanted to go to that festival, and really all they were going there was these people were sleeping around with each other, they'd be like, they'd look at me and they'd be like, but you're not supposed to be going to something like that. And I'm like, why not me? They're like, you're just not supposed to be at something like that. And it's like, this is a person who I know should want me to go to something like that. But when it comes to me, they're telling me no. And it's like, I just realized that I was protected from a lot of things. I was discouraged from a lot of things. But it reality over was overriding or overpower, whatever it was. It took for me to come all the way to gang stalking for every single event, every single heartbreak, every single rejection, every single time something didn't work out for me, every time I didn't fit in with groups of people, every time friendships didn't work. In the beginning, when people came at me to kind of like be my handler, if you will, or recruit me in some way, I didn't turn these girls away. I was starting to be to try to make a friendship. They pulled away from me because I just didn't fit in, and I didn't understand why I didn't fit in. I was like, what is it? My whole view of life just didn't make sense as far as like fitting in with certain people, and it all made sense when I got to gang stalking. It was like, oh, this didn't make sense because they were recruiting me and I wasn't yet ready to go through this process. It makes it a lot easier for you not to blame people, or for you not to be upset, or for you to accept the journey as it is, when you have the understanding of what's going on. So it's not that you should not be going through gang stalking, it's just that you don't understand why it's happening and what is going on. You just don't understand. It's exactly like this says. I felt like an arrow pulled back and ready to be launched into something big. You just don't know what's happening. But if you think back to it, if you've been a faithful person, if you've been a person that God has always taken care of, as much as these things have always happened to you, it's always been okay. You've always come out of it better. You've always come out of these trials a better person, in a better circumstance, and your life has continued to blossom and change over and over and over. And like I said, this is not my first spiritual battle. This is not the first time I've been through something. Listen, and I have to say this. The first time I went through this kind of like all around life shaking spiritual battle, the first time I went through this, I did denounce God, and I did come out of it an atheist. Well, I turned into an atheist while into it, and I was a proud atheist. I was proud to tell people like, I don't believe in God. And because I remember going through this thing and thinking, there's no God. There's no way there's a God, and this is allowed to happen to people. There's no way. What am I experiencing? Because this thing took a couple of years to resolve. This is the thing about these battles. These battles are not easy and they are not short. If I have two children, one labor was very long, 25 hours, but it wasn't as intense. I could sit through 25 hours. One was 7 hours, and it was the 25 hours condensed into 7 hours. It was ridiculously painful. I mean, like halfway through, I was like, get me out of here. This is crazy. I took no medication for either one. I'm absolutely bragging about that because that was insane. I don't know what was going through my mind. I just decided I didn't want to take any medication. I was reading all these books and whatever. Anyway, this is how it is. It's like, if you're going through a battle and it's intense, like gang stalking, but it's short, you can get through it and you could be like, I don't know what the hell that was, but 3 to 6 months, it was done. I survived. Gang stalking brings both together. It's like 25 hours with the intensity of the 7 hours. It is long and it is insane. This is what makes it difficult. This is what makes people question, where is God? Where? So first of all, let's pause. I've been a good person my entire life. Now, you know when you're a good person. You know it, like, cut the nonsense, because I meet people in my gang stalking. I've met people who really looked at themselves like, damn, I'm not a good person. What? You gang stalk people. What are you talking about? What do you mean I'm not a good person? Like, I literally sat there and listened to this train of thought in somebody's head where they literally was almost like they really for the first time like, damn, I'm not a good person. What do you mean? You know you're not a good person. You know damn well you're not a good person. You know that. Moving the hell on. Good people, they know, you know you've been a good person your whole life. You know that there are times you could have taken advantage of people. A lot of times you never did. You controlled yourself and you said, no, I'm not going to take advantage of this person. You know that you saw how other people were behaving and you chose not to participate in that behavior. You know that you've been kind out of the goodness of your heart. So many generosities, so many kindnesses that you don't even talk about. You don't even remember. You know that you're a person who springs to help people. And you also know that you try to, not everybody, but you try to have a relationship with God that may be private, but it's very genuine and it's very passionate. And I can speak for myself here because I don't know if it's like that for everyone. So going through the situation, it's like 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in, a year, you're like, wait a minute. A little part of me does expect special treatment. Thank you very much. I do. I do. I don't expect special treatment like I should be a billionaire or anything like that. I just expect a little bit of protection from craziness like this. I just expect when I meet people like this, I should be able to take a step aside and just get out of the way and you get me out of here, because that's how it's always been with us. I meet these situations, I get into these things, and God quietly slips me out of the way, takes me out of it. I meet the wrong guy, I meet the wrong friend, I end up in the wrong environment. God's like, no, not this one. We got to get out of here. So I'm expecting this to happen. So I'm having patience with the situation. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, like I'm saying, a year. I'm like, wait a minute. I had patience with this. It's been a year. I've done everything that I was supposed to. I kept a grateful heart the entire time. What on earth is going on here? I'm being stretched. That's how you're going to feel. That's how we do feel, because some people are not telling me, but I'm watching online on YouTube and people are like, they've been gang stalked for 6 years, 4 years, 5 years. I met a person in person that told me 5 years. I believe her 1,000,000,000%. 5 long years they persecuted that lady at this job. 5 years. And there are people living in this persecution and they've just had no choice but to accept it as their life. And I know that it is exceptionally difficult for these people to understand, how can there be a God and where is this God that people are talking about? And I've met people freshly gang stalked, freshly put into this situation, that refuse to believe that God is real and that get upset at me when I say just pray and all of that. Like, I've had people literally like tell me off. People who I was friends with, and then they're like telling me off, like, listen, don't, and they're like, listen, I really respect you, but don't piss me off. Like, I don't, and I understand. And I'm not even gonna tell you that God is gonna punish you for that or any of the above. I'm not saying that to you. I'm gonna tell you God also understands. It's a tough situation. Gang stalking is a tough situation. People in my city who've gone through this are in a nightmare. This is difficult. These people, even now that I've pulled away, these people send me spell work so often for me to be frustrated, right after I come out of a meditation. Is, you know how diabolical that is? The meditation is supposed to calm you down, and right after you come out of the meditation, it's like, to see someone sending you anxiety through a meditation, or to have to use the water, just anything to interrupt it. It's like, you gotta hate God. Like, you gotta really, like, you gotta hate seeing that it's hate. It comes from hate. There's no other way. If you are dealing with people who feel like they hate God, and then they see you praying, and you think because you're going through gang stalking that God's not there because you're being gang stalked, right? But the person attacking you knows that God favors you, even though you're feeling a little bit of the pain. They know that when they do this to people with no God, those people pass away. Those people are in the hospital. Those people are in fatal car crashes. Those people lose pets, lose children, get terminal diseases. But you're here, and I see TIs come on here, the ones that I in my heart feel like actually have a relationship with God. You're talking in such a, you're healthy. You're healthy. Yeah, you're being persecuted, but you're healthy. You're not saying that you're on dialysis. You're not saying that you're dragging an oxygen tank behind you. You're in a place that is warm, that has light. You're in shelter. Obviously you have food to eat. Things are working out. They're not perfect. They're being mended. Things are being arranged spiritually for you. But you're not where those people without God, those are the people suffering. Those are the people possessed. Those are the people whose vessels they took over. Those are the people who are running mad. You can no longer recognize them. If you saw them, you don't know what they're talking about. The people attacking you, the spirits attacking you, they know you're blessed, but they want you to believe that it's all bad. I'll give you an example. And this is literally on one of the things that I wanted to talk about. When I first started going through this, so I talk all about how these people got in contact with me and found me, even though they put their hardest sort of thing on me. Anyways, that's not important. So these people started reaching out to me on dating sites. The only job that these people were supposed to do was separate me from my ex, and they did that. Then they decided that they wanted to recruit me to be a drug mule. The first job was done, mission accomplished. They wanted to turn me into a drug mule on top of it. So they wanted to wait a couple months, but they kept coming back on the dating site thing, the dating site, whatever. I didn't even want to be on no damn dating site. Listen, put a pin in it. Stop taking advice from people. They will use people around you to suggest things. My daughter's like, my dad, like, I didn't care. I wasn't ready, and I didn't care. And even if I did care, it's not, dating sites are not even my style. That's not even my thing. But I was like, whatever, I'll get on a stupid dating site. And it's like, I get in contact with this one person, and this is of all the people that came around, and weirdos, they're possessed, they're all weirdos. I'm telling you, you know that something is wrong with them, even being unawakened back then. Listen, let me give you, I'm pretty sure it was the same chief gang stalker energy. Some man told me that he wanted me to ram a broom up him. Like after within the first or second conversation. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is what being possessed by one of these sex demons and it taking over you, this is the kind of thing that you do. When I say you embarrass yourself, when I say you humiliate yourself, these people are not all the way there. And I wondered to myself, do they ever go back, read the conversation and have to delete and block it because they're like, oh my goodness, what did I just say? And this is a person who supposedly had money, was bragging that they could buy a Range Rover cash right now, this and that. But it's like, what? Pin in it, right? But the only person who didn't seem weird to me, who did not seem weird because all the other ones seemed possessed, was this Indian guy. And he's talking, and I can tell that the way he's behaving is kind of unnatural for just meeting someone. It's like this guy has already fallen in love. It makes no sense, and I don't trust that kind of behavior anyway. But I'm talking to him, and he tells me that his wife passed away, and he's taking care of this very young little girl. And one of the things is that he travels very often. I mean, he travels like very often. And he lets me know that up front. And obviously, we're talking about drug mules. Of course, they travel very often. So he tells me a little bit about his business, blah, blah, blah. But of course, he's lying about a couple things. Like, I'm picking up on the lies because it's inconsistent. But it doesn't really seem like this person is like a born liar. Listen, when you're dealing with born liars lie. A born liar, you'll be like, oh my God, I found this blue lighter. And they'll be like, oh, that's my purple lighter. Thank you. That's my pink lighter. It's blue. Oh, yeah. It's blue. You're right. It's blue. Was there an agenda behind lying about the color of this lighter? There was no agenda, but this is a born liar. This is all they do. There's no sort of emotional tug of war about lying. That's all they do. People who are not born liars, who are just trying to protect themselves in some way or shield from something, the way they lie is a little bit different. So I'm talking to this guy, and this guy's telling me the wife passed away. And then I've talked to, and in telling me that the wife has passed away, he's not over it. This grief is not complete. It's not done. There's still, it's there, it's still there. And I'm thinking about it. And then he told me that there was another family member, I think, that passed away. It was like multiple family members passed away. And then in going through gang stalking, I've met so many people that someone always passes away. And if people were supposed to work with me and they didn't work with me, then somebody in their family would pass away and then they would come work with me. We had a news reporter in our city that didn't want to repost something that I gave her to wear, and her dad passed away, and then she posted it. We had a celebrity, we could call her like a reality star, that didn't want to, they were gung-ho to work with me in the beginning. It was beautiful. Then they started pulling away. Then they came back very scared and very nervous because her brother passed away. This is in the news, so I can literally, listen. I don't lie. I could be a lot of things, but I do not lie. I do not lie. I do not lie. So everything that I say, verifiable. There's things that I know in my heart that I know to be true because I feel it to be true, but I will not say it unless I feel sure of it. So I do not like just saying things to say things. I'd rather keep things to myself. Person after person after person, every time they wanted someone to do something or to get close to me and the person didn't want to do it, somebody passed away. So they took somebody from that person, they took that person's life. This is death spells. They took that person's life as a warning shot to you. And if the first one didn't work, they'll give you a second one. Another person will pass away. And these people start passing away close to each other. And I know that they tried to take my children from me, for sure. For sure. It was almost like, oh, you don't want to be a drug mule, then I'm going to take one of the kids. Now, when you are protected from this kind of spell work, it goes back. Guaranteed. Then they will say that somebody's a witch because they're getting their energy returned back to them. They will not ever say, we send people spell work to be in car accidents. And when the car accidents have not worked, we make people tailgate you. So the TIs that come on here and they talk about the tailgating, it's because the accident spell work is not working. Now we got to manufacture the results. They have to manufacture the results. They have to come close to you so you drive erratic and something happens and you get so shaken and you don't want to drive anymore. Let me explain something to you. I've had TIs come to me and say, oh my God, I'm just getting confidence to drive again because I was in a car accident. It was so bad. Do you know how much angels are protecting you? While you say that there is no God, you just can't see them. You can't see them. And let me tell you the other thing about seeing them. You'll say, well, I want to see them. If you see them, you could see everything else. If you could see angels, you could see demons too. You could see dead people. You could see a lot of stuff. You might not be ready for that. You might not be ready for waking up in the middle of the night and seeing things in your house, over your bed, around the place. You might not be ready for seeing people who are astral projecting around your place and running in the spirit around your house. You may not be ready for these things. I'm just saying. So you just accept how it is. But I'm telling you, they know that people like us exist because they know that it doesn't work on certain people. They know that it may work on a lot of people, but there are certain people it doesn't work on. So while you sit here and you believe that God is not here with you, God is hovering right here, listening to every thought, knocking things down that you're trying to do, shoving you out of the way, pushing you in that direction. A lot is happening, but you are simply not aware because you're so much paying attention to the distractions over here, the gang stalking and what they're saying, that you're not noticing everything that is happening on this side. So first things first, you have to start counting your blessings. Let me tell you something. See my face right now? This is a blessing. Why? Because they want me to break out. They send this stuff. I got to clean it off. Everything about me is a blessing. Everything, like literally, you have no idea how petty it gets. It gets petty and childish, the spell work they send. They will send spell work for your pets to not connect with you. So if you don't spiritually cleanse the pets, you'll be like, wait a minute, why is my pet behaving this way all of a sudden? And you spiritually cleanse the pet, and immediately there the pet comes and is so loving with you once again. If they could do that with a pet, imagine what they're doing in your serious relationships. It literally has to be mind over matter. I'll wake up and I'll be so frustrated. I'm like, where is this coming from? I had a great night. I slept peacefully. I had a great meditation. I feel so good. Where's this frustration coming from? Rather than me working on not being frustrated, I just go pray and clean it off and cleanse. And as soon as the cleanse is done, it's like that. It evaporates. And it's like I'm back to myself. And I'm like, wait a minute. And this is the thing. The purpose of this is because I come on here and I talk to very vulnerable people who have been going through so much. And imagine receiving a message from someone who's angry. Imagine receiving messages from people and it's like they're speaking to you in such a way when what you need right now is kindness, what you need is understanding, what you need is people who get it. I remember when I was going through this, God was like, if we didn't put you through this, then people wouldn't be able to take you seriously with you giving advice because you don't truly know. And I'm telling you, we know it's the truth. Because if somebody gives you advice without going through gang stalking themselves, they might be on a high horse. They might say stupid shit and you're like, just shut up. Because gang stalking comes with, you need to understand that pain. You need to understand like every facet of what this feels like. You cannot even begin to understand very important relationships being severed. And I have this video about it and I say it's a soul wound. This hurts in a different part of you. It hurts in your soul. You can't understand it. You don't really, it's like anything that you need to heal from needs understanding. Like, what would make this person do that? This lady told me that her son betrayed her. And for the fact that she came in and this was the thing that she announced, this is the thing on her brain every day. She wakes up, it's the first thing she thinks about, and it's the last thing she thinks about when she goes to bed. And that hurts. And as a mother, I know her womb hurts. Her womb hurts. And only mothers can understand what I'm talking about. That's where it hurts. It's kind of like when someone you really love cheats on you, that's where it hurts as well. It's like, wait, why would you do it? Like, it's just not understanding how it happened. So you have to make all these scenarios. Well, maybe they paid them, maybe this, maybe that, and none of it is satisfying you because you know you would never do that, and you think that your bond surpasses all of that crap. Because as a mother, you're like, I would lay my life on the line for my kids. So how did my kid do that? And these are the relationships that they attack the most in gang stalking, is the soul bonds. These are called soul contracts. These are people that travel sometimes lifetimes with you. This lifetime they come as your son, next lifetime you come as their daughter, next lifetime they're a grandparent, next lifetime there's something else. This is how it works spiritually. You travel as a cluster. And then this person has wounded you that deeply. Do you not see this as maniacal? This is calculated. This is toxic. This is demonic to do something like that, to wound you like that. These are the people that you're dealing with. So imagine going to therapy for something that needs God. God needs to heal this. Therapy cannot heal this. The therapist cannot even freaking understand what's going on. And all of this is compounded. This is happening all at once. These important people are betraying you. You're losing everything. Everybody at your job has turned against you. It's like all of it is piling up all at once. You cannot have people who are not TIs, who've never been TIs, come here and give you any kind of advice. Give you any, it's nice. Their advice is nice. It's cute. No problem. I'm not saying they can't say anything, but I'm saying people who have never been TIs have no idea what this isolation feels like. They have no idea what this questioning your finances, how long you're gonna last, questioning who is doing this and why. Who have I offended? I have no enemies. Who have I offended like this? I have no one who should hate me like this. I may have somebody here or there who whatever, but the way I left the situation, it was enough that they should have known, like, I mean no harm. Like, what is going on? This is the kind of craziness that you're going to deal with. And you need people who have tasted this craziness to be able to understand you, to sympathize with you. I have never been a person, I didn't even have social media before this. Like, my YouTube is my social media. I didn't put my face anywhere to the point that they couldn't find my social media. They couldn't find friends. They couldn't find anything. I didn't have. They couldn't find pictures of me to circulate. They had to come and take physical pictures of me in my store and all over. They didn't have it. And it's gotten to the point where, you know, I've gone from a reclusive person to someone who's been damn near crying on camera, because the only reason I would even allow myself to be that vulnerable is because I understand that there are people who are going through the same situation, who need to understand the same thing. It almost makes you feel seen when you know that other people are actually going through it, real people, because this place is booby trapped. This YouTube, all the social media is booby trapped with these fake TIs who give fake advice, who a lot of them listen to me, regurgitate the things that I say word for word, okay, to put out content to confuse people. And I think when you finally find some authenticity in the world again, You feel a little bit safer. You feel like there's a little part of the world that is coming back to normal again. So I understand what it feels like to need that, and that's why I don't mind being vulnerable. I don't mind sharing my story. I don't mind saying things that people would maybe not want to say, but also maybe would embarrass other people, because everything that I've gone through, everybody has gone through that and worse. Losing a business, losing a home, whatever. It's like it's beyond pride at this point. I want you to know more than anything, and listen, up until I made a video about this, and I think it's called It's Normal to Have Questions of God in Tough Times. And as I made that video, I myself was frustrated because I had questions of God in my tough time. I really did. And I have to listen to it to see if I can detect my frustration, because I was upset in that video, because I felt drawn to make the video, but I also had questions as well in my heart. And as I've gone through this, I can definitely tell you I still have days where I'm just like, oh my God, throw me a bone, get me out of here. But at the same time, I also know I've come a long way, and I also know that God has a plan, and I also know that I have to be patient with the plan. And I also know that everything that I'm learning continues to prepare me for the next step. And I have really mastered myself in ways that I cannot think of another situation preparing me for this, for life in this way. I've literally understood myself and spend so much time with myself. That's what the isolation's about too. That I have learned how to heal myself rapidly. I've learned how to find God when I need God. I've learned to master my anger by force. Very difficult. I've learned how to be more patient. The craziest thing is I got my patience so under control by the time this happened, and thank you so much, because I promise you, had I not had patience, I would have lashed out, lost it. People would have thought I was crazy in my city. My patience was almost perfect. I never want to say anything is perfect. There's always room for improvement, but my patience was almost perfect when they found me. It has been stretched with childish behavior, with childish nonsense. It's been ridiculous. And then I got all the way here to master it under chaos again. I have very good kids. And so that's where my kids and customers were where my patience was always being tested. And then I mastered it because it was like easy to just figure it out. But when you have people purposely trying to trigger you and piss you off, like, yeah, it's going to be, it's something else. They're purposely trying to get under your skin, and let me tell you, they're not bad at it. They're not bad at they're not bad at it. So I want to leave you with this message. I had something totally different planned here. But part of my prayer before I came on here was, I said, I know I have something planned, but, let people know what they need to know, what you need them to know. So this whole thing has been scrapped. I think people just need to know, if you are angry at God, you separate yourself from your protection. You lower your vibration. You make it easier to get to you. And this protection is your birthright. And this protection is going to walk you through this situation. You have to raise your vibration. You have to meet God. Prayer is a curse breaker. Prayer and witchcraft and spell work is of the same ilk. It is of the same species, let's see. Okay? Prayer is like the female, and let's say witchcraft is like the male. But it's like the same thing. It's the same species. Prayer and witchcraft are the same thing to different entities, different aspects of entities. Because we tend to think of good and bad, but really it's good and bad. It's the same thing. I always say you're like split down the middle. Your 50% have the ability, the capacity to be evil, and you 50% have the capacity to be good. And it's whichever one you feed more than the more than the other takes over. So you have to walk in perfect balance. This is what it's like being a higher entity, is that you would think, whether it be God or angels, you would think that they are only good, and not necessarily, because they have to fight evil. They have to come into contact with that. They just walk a middle path. A middle path allows you to make reasonable judgments. It allows you to assess things responsibly. It allows you to fight a battle without doing it out of pettiness or resentment. Is he okay? Need water? It allows you to fight something without being tit for tat, without being petty, without being resentful, without being going overboard. Something that we all would be guilty of, to be honest with you, just being human, just being a human being. But this is what the middle path is. So entities, higher level, higher vibrational spirits, some of them have the ability to be very low vibing, or have behavior that one might consider low vibing, like fighting, like, fighting entities and all that kind of stuff. So when you pray, it just depends who you're praying to and what aspect of them you pray to. Because believe me, the same saints that people pray to in the church for good, bless me and protect me, witches pray to these same saints, put them on their altar, put their statues on their altar, and pray to them to attack you, to destroy you. So prayer, we need to rethink prayer and stop thinking of prayer as something that only good people do. Witches, warlocks, darker people pray. It's called prayer. It is reaching out to spirits out there. And they ask for prayer for the same way. They ask for protection too. They ask for, so spirits have aspects. There are light aspects of a spirit. There are dark aspects of spirits. They are looking to the dark aspect of the spirit. Whereas you're praying and you're looking to the light aspect of the spirit. Spirituality is not how it is painted. Witches have Bibles on their altar, Qurans and all of that. They have all of it. They use all of it. Christians do spell work, root work, all of it. In the Bible, everything they talk about in the Bible, this is how people do spell work. Sacrificing animals, lighting altars, tabernacles where they have all of the elements, the water element, the air element, the food element, which is the earth element. They do all of it, the fire. It's all there. It is, what is the intention in your heart and what are you appealing to? So don't think of prayer as something that is just something Christians or good people do. And being Christian doesn't mean you're good as well. You can be Christian and be evil and rotten. Not because it's like I'm saying, like you can be an actual Christian who follows the Bible and everything and be rotten, because again, it can be used either way. Christian is just a religion, Christianity. Witchcraft is the same way. They give it a bad name, they give it a horrible name, but you could be good or bad in the same way. There are people who do good in the same way. When I was going through things, I knew that people had sent spell work my way to help me. And sometimes you don't know who it is. They're not going to tell you, but they see you going through something, they figure it out, and they send you some spell work to help you because they see what's happening and something just works out for me. And I know that's not directly God, but that's somebody else who did that. And I know that. So it goes both ways. People put prayers for people the same way people put prayers on their altar to cut you down. There are people who look at your situation and they watch you and they listen and they say nothing. And they put a prayer on their altar for you for free, for your protection, for you to get through something, to get a little bit of money to get you through, whatever it is. And you will feel it. You will feel it in your aura like, what is that? That wasn't me. But it didn't feel like God either. It did like I didn't pray for like, what is that? So this world is very different, but I just want to say prayer breaks witchcraft. I want you guys that are going through this to just understand that witchcraft is not the be all end all. In fact, it might be the easiest of everything that you're going through because anything done in witchcraft can be taken off. You see, sometimes you'll see somebody who dabbles in witchcraft or they've sent them spell work. This person starts getting fat. So you see them on Monday, they're fat. Then you see them by Saturday and they're skinny again. You're like, wait a minute. Their arms were fat. Their face was fat. I just saw them. You go back to the video. They were fat in that video, but today they're skinny again. Because once it was sent with witchcraft, it will be cleaned off the same way. If they send you chaos in your relationship, it will be cleaned off. Sickness will be cleaned. So in a way, you want that. The real problem is if you really sat there and ate that food and gained that weight over a course of a year or 6 months or whatever, that's going to take another 6 months to take off. That's going to take a lot of effort. So I prefer the witchcraft personally because all I got to do is find the antidote, or I probably already have it, or cleanse, and it'll be gone. So in everything that you're doing, prayer. And if you pray over something and it requires a physical thing, God will take you to it. God will take you by the hand and lead you to what you need to do. And it's up to you, and I always say this, to connect the dots, because communication the universe communicates with multiple languages. It is more than just God whispering in your ear and whatnot. It's like, put 2 and 2 together. This will help. So that you don't need to see it from someone like me or something on a video. That's why I only give basic cleansing. The rest will come from you, your research, you walking that thing yourself. You don't have to wait on everybody to give you step-by-step instructions on how to do something. Just ask God. Literally, it's like, this is the message for tonight. You gotta actually ask questions. Ask God. Like the same way that I'm speaking right now, ask God everything. You don't need anybody else once you open that communication link. So why am I going through this? When the heck is this gonna end? What is going on here? That's all. There were times where it's like I would have energies come into my energy, and I know they were good energies, and they were just coming to drop off blessings. They were just coming to be helpful in some way, even if it was just to comfort me. And I remember at times I was like, well, what are their names? Because I wanted to learn them. And God was like, you're asking too many questions. You don't need to know their name. It doesn't matter. And sometimes you're going to get answers like that. Or you're going to get answers like, I would ask about timing. Like, when is this going to be done? It's like, don't worry about that. Or I would be like, am I going to get this? And they'd be like, what was the answer to that? Oh, just focus on yourself. Just don't worry about that. Just focus on yourself right now. I'm not saying the answers are going to be affirmative, but I can understand why now I didn't get an answer. If I had gotten a timing answer when I had asked, I would have been pissed off. What do you mean 2 years? What do you mean by that? No. That would have been my reaction. I'd have been like, I don't, look, thank you, but this is a lot. That's how I would feel. So it's for your best interest that you don't get answers to all your questions. It's kind of like taking a pet to the vet or taking your kid to the hospital, or how you have to, I'm a parent, so that's my analogy. You might have to take a juice box and put the medication behind and put the straw in it, and they'll drink it. They think it's weird, but they're drinking it, but they're like, this is nasty. But because they see it's a juice box, they'll eat it, they'll drink it. It's kind of like that. You need the medicine, but if you were shown the medicine, you absolutely would not open your mouth. They'd have to fight you. So they got to put it in the juice box and put the straw in it for you to drink it. You're like, it feels like a relationship. It feels like I'm in love, but it's weird. It tastes weird. I don't want it. And then they're like, no, 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 it's loving. It's great. Come back, come back, come back, come back. Because you got to go through this. This is the path that you have to take to your ascension, to your future. And let me tell you, going through gang stalking and looking at what celebrities go through and just kind of being in and around these people sometimes, they're living a life of gang stalking. I can't put it any other way to you. They have adapted to gang stalking and is their everyday life. Every single thing that you're going through right now that you think is unbearable, every single thing that you think is crazy in your gang stalking journey that you want to end, this is what celebrities are living every day, and there is no end, and they can never go back. Their face is all over the place. They are famous now. They are always going to be gaslit. They're always going to be lied on and slandered. They're always going to be robbed. They cannot trust anyone. They had to leave their entire family and all their friend group behind. As soon as they got famous, they have stories being dug up all the time. And the most beautiful part, they have spell work all the time. Why would somebody not send spell work at them? They have rivals. They're competing for jobs. Imagine competing for a job that's going to pay you. You hear a celebrity make 40 million on a movie. Do you know how many people want that job? Think about that. Think about what that competition looks like for a job that's going to make 40 million. Like literally, it's like it's in our face and we're seeing it all the time. I see it a lot clearer than anyone else because it happened to me. I dressed someone, and when it made the magazines, the way that they talked about it, it was all strategy. It was like they did it to me on purpose, and I could see it. But had I not gone through gang stalking, I would not have been prepared for that level of backlash. That's a lot of backlash. That's insane backlash. It's a lot of people in one comment section. Anywhere it was pictured, everybody had something negative to say, but these things opened my eyes. Now, had I not been prepared for that, I would have gotten down on myself. I would have discontinued the item. All kinds of things would have happened, but I've been through gang stalking, so I understand a lot that this is just life. And you know, it's so crazy because I remember thinking to myself, this is how I'm waking up spiritually. I feel like I'm waking up from a dream, a nap. And my previous life was the dream. And I'm waking up, and as I wake up, I'm hearing like bombs dropping all over me. And I'm getting up and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Someone throws me a helmet, throws me a gun, and they're like, hurry up, let's go. And they're running, and I have no idea where we're running to. And I'm putting on the helmet while I'm running, and I'm like trying to remember how to work this thing. And I'm like, what is going on here? This is how it felt like. I woke up, I was ascended in the middle of a spiritual war with people who the worst manifestation of evil that I have ever experienced, that I have ever seen. Like these are actual demons. It's not even people, these are actual demons. So it's crazy, but I kept thinking to myself, I know that I'm being trained for something. I know that I'm being prepared for something. But if this is how they're preparing me, then what am I being prepared for? It's kind of like saying, I'm asking, all I did was ask God for like my dream house. Can this be it? And God's like, sure, you can get it. Oh, but here are your fatigues, and here's your helmet, here's your gun. Wait, whoa. I asked for a dream house, and we're getting army fatigues. What are we going through? And then you kind of go through it, and you're like, whoa, I don't know if I want the house anymore. I don't think I want the house. Actually, this is my last house was perfect. Actually, I really love it. I'd love to go back. It's kind of like that. So it's like, what am I being prepared for? You gotta take it like this. And I don't know how this is gonna hit you. These are your easy days. This gang stalking here, this is the easiest part. This is the easy days. It's the easy days. It's going to be equal parts exhilarating and equal parts difficult. But this is the preparation. You are going to get to a point where it's going to make sense. It has to. The only thing that you need to do is not give up on yourself and follow instructions. That is it. You just need to hang in there and not give up on yourself. People have been paid a lot of money for you to give up on yourself. If you give up on yourself, then they get the blessing. And if you even knew what that blessing was, you would be willing to fight for it. Believe me, you would be willing to fight for it, tooth and nail. Heaven on earth. Post-ascension is heaven on earth. Not because there are no trials, but the preparation for it makes it not hit you the way that it should. Other people are going to sit there and be like, wait a minute, you just had like 2,000 people in one comment section drag your work down. And you're going to be like, it's not going to hit you. You're going to be immune to it. So you got to hang in there. These people are trying to take everything from you. And like I said, think about it logically. I was listening to this lady last night, and she said, I had a business and was profitable right away. I made $1,200 right away, and I've been successful, and I have these homes and whatever. That's a taste. That is a taste of what is to come. Keep going. It means you've done it before. It means you have a gift. It means you have a talent. You can do it. It is just a taste. Keep going. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on yourself. I want to tell you guys, I have a playlist called How-Tos, the TI starter pack of how-tos. Okay, how to do this, how to do that, how to do a spiritual bath, the forms, the different forms of cleansing and all of that. Take a, go look at that video, the different forms of cleansing. Sometimes you're going to have to combine forms of cleansing, not just one. If you do one form of cleansing and it doesn't help, you got to go through all of them and do it until it works. It will absolutely work. And when you do a cleansing, you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, you're just going to snap out of it. It's going to vaporize, whatever it is. And you need to continue cleansing yourself. You cleanse your animals. You cleanse your children. Cleanse the children. When I was younger, I would always wake up at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning and people were praying over me, anointing me and all that. I've been taking spiritual baths before I knew what spiritual baths were from younger. I've been going through all of this without even knowing it, and only now that I'm older, I realize, even the fact that I come on here like this is not an aesthetic. This just happens. And I remember meeting witchy people in my life, and like they would have their head covered like this, and I didn't realize, like, this is not an aesthetic. Like, this is protection. You gotta protect your head, male or female. When you pray, when you meditate, please cover your head with something dark. Please take care of yourself. Please find a way to be at peace inside of here, because this is where the peace comes from. It doesn't come from outside. That's where meditation and prayer and all of that comes through. If you're behaving in a way that is not normal to you, like you're a normally peaceful person, you find yourself very angry, it is spell work. Be very aware. You do not need any special sort of spiritual gifts to talk to God and for God to communicate with you in very real ways. It's like any relationship. You test it, talk, ask, can you please be patient, wait for it to happen. When it happens, it's the most exhilarating feeling on the planet. because now you start to realize that it is real. This energy is real. You sit back and you're like, did that really happen? And you do it again and again and again and again, and this becomes your walk in life. And then you become one of those weird people who expects things to go in your favor. Those weird people who just says, I'm gonna build a rocket. And people are like, what's a rocket? And you're like, you'll see, it's this thing that flies in the sky. And they're like, what's that? And then you do it. May take 2 years or 3 years, and you never lose hope. And people are like, why is this person still building this, whatever they're calling a rocket? You become one of those people over time because your relationship is very real. It is very real. God is not just like something that you pray to in your head. Every energy is a real energy. Every single energy out there is very real. I describe it like the wind. You don't see it, you can't touch it, you can't bottle it, but you feel it. You feel it on your skin. We all do. Some of us can see them, some of us can feel them. Some of us know when they're there, we know where they are in the room. But still, it is a very real energy. It is a consciousness. Like you're a consciousness, like I'm a consciousness. If I didn't have this body and I came back as a ghost, I would still be the experience that you're having, but you wouldn't be able to see what I look like. Am I black? Am I white? Am I this? But you would feel my energy. It would feel the same way that you're feeling it right now. It's the same way you perceive me. You would perceive me as a consciousness. And if you were able to hear me, I would sound the same. I would behave the same. I would have the same expectations, the same personality traits. So it's the same thing with God, with angels. They have personalities. They have personalities. They're different. They're not all the same. Some are very expressive. Some are very stoic. Some don't say much. Some are very loving. Some are very defensive. They're all different. They're different. But you have to decide to tap into that. This is not some special thing for some people. This is for all people. And you don't go through other people. You go through yourself. So the direction has always been the same. You start with Passover loved ones and ancestors. You start talking to them because this is your soul tribe. They are already tethered to you. Spiritually, there's already a cord. You know them. You feel them. So when you communicate with them and you say, I am being gang stalked right now. I don't know if you noticed, you probably did. And this girl on the internet said that I should call on and say something to you. I would really appreciate you just, this is the thing that I'm dealing with right now. Just show me something and throw me a bone, please. I desperately need it. I am so sick of this crap. This is how you pray. People think prayer is like 3 Hail Marys and like 4 hours. No, this is a prayer. What I just did, that's a prayer. Because I'm communicating with a spirit. What was most important about that? My authenticity. I was being, there was energy behind what I was saying. I'm being very authentic. I'm being serious. I really want a sign. I'm reaching out. Help me. As soon as you make that prayer, as soon as you make that connection, as soon as you touch the other side, it's their permission now that you've pulled them closer. And as you talk to them a little bit more, they come closer. And you talk a little bit more and they come closer. And over time, you get so close that you don't even need to go into prayer on your knees, light a candle. They're there all the time. And you get to the point where you're like, listen, I don't mind carrying you with me all the time. We can share this vessel. We can get to that point. Ancestors only. Don't go looking for spirits. You cannot skip ancestors because they protect you. They guide you on that path. They hold your hand. They block some things out. They know how to get things done around spiritual law. Spirit guides have been put in place to put you on your path, to take care of you, to make sure that you walk your path. This is the whole point of what you're doing here. You have a path to walk. They're responsible for making sure not just that you walk the path, but that you get there on time. It helps when you're working with them and not against them, when you're not a petulant child, when you're not blindfolded with your fingers in your ears and they got to drag you around and their life is difficult. You got to listen, you got to pay attention, you got to take notice. Sometimes you have to listen to things blindly that you don't know why you're listening to. None of this is logical. Logic is an earthly thing. Spirituality is totally different. Spirituality is paradoxical. It's conflicting information. Yes is no and no is yes. And it's all of it all at the same time. So it's like in spirituality, you know, a God, his wife is also his daughter, is also his grandmother. That's how spiritual, that's the best way for me to explain why it's paradoxical. One day somebody says this, the next day they say that, but all are true. When you really take your time to notice, to tap in, to think it through, you start realizing why it's like that. You start realizing what it means. You got to take your time with the process and you got to walk through it. It is a walk. It is a journey. I don't know what his thing is lately. He wants to be on camera. Why do we insist on being on camera, Knox? He's so beautiful. Look at those eyes. Look at those eyes. Is that even like a real color? When I see human beings with eyes that blue, I'm like, that is insane. It's so beautiful. Right, Knox? Anyway, what was I saying? Take your time. It takes a while for spiritual connections to strengthen. More than likely, you'll have experiences where they have been trying to communicate with you for a while. If you see things that are, we call synchronicities that happen all the time, that's them. They may leave coins all over the place for you. They may do things where it's like all a person of the same race. They may do something where you see the same number all the time. It is their way of communicating with you. So think about things that are synchronicities where it's like, wait, that is odd. Why is that happening the whole time? That is how they let you know. That is how they let you know that they're there. That is how they let you know that they're close, that they're watching over you. And don't just see it and be scared. Reach back out. You don't know who's there, so you might just want to ask, like, who's communicating with me right now? Who's leaving the pennies? Just like that, in the air. Who's leaving the pennies? Who's doing it? They might come to you in a dream and be like, I'm leaving you the pennies. It's me. I've had ancestors that really wanted to be noticed because I was heavy on one ancestor and they're like, hello? And they're doing so much. And then by the time I get there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know. And you're going to be wrong on this spiritual journey a bunch of times, and they're going to let you be wrong because they know that you don't know. And I think they're just happy that you're trying to reach out. I think they're just happy that you are making the effort, that you have become aware, because it's with your awareness and your belief and your imagination and your hope. All of these things are feelings. It is with your feelings that you get to touch the other side and enjoy that relationship. And you don't have to have just a purely physical life experience. You get to tap into the spirit side as well. And you get to have a magical experience. Gang stalking has been more magical than it's been troubling for me. It has been, honestly, I would go through it again if I got to open my eyes in this way. I would. It's crazy because this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. This is like, there are parts of this that you just, it's an out of body experience. It's like, you can't even believe this is happening. How is this possible? Where is the world that you used to know? But then that's the point. Now you're going to be a spiritual person who's going to know in real life that I am not surviving gang stalking because anybody survives it. I'm surviving it because I'm special in some way. And I don't mean better than other people. I don't want to make it an ego thing. Please, your ego is a trap. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. I was getting in my ego and God showed me what would happen, like, or what can happen out of being in your ego. So stay out of your ego. Be very humble. It's not worth it. It's a trap. But I kind of like, I don't know. It's like, I'm at the point I wonder, is it special because you're special, or is it special because you're trying to reach out to the other side? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I am positive that spirituality is for everyone. I feel like it is for everyone. I don't know, you know, people talk about chosen ones and stuff like that when it comes to TIs. I'm not sure. I don't know where I sit with it 100%. I definitely know there are people that are meant to be examples to other people on how to get through, just how to make it through this thing. I definitely know there are some people that are like that for sure. But I don't know. I don't know how chosen necessarily everybody is, but I definitely know that this does not work on everybody. Some people for sure it works on, and some people it's like it just doesn't work. They know it doesn't work. If you've been going through it for 6 years, it's not working on you. There's no reason you should be a TI for 6 years. There's no reason. They should have already gotten rid of you, like at least just to get a life insurance policy paid out, because they're dropping people. So I know that much. I just think there's something that if you're one of those people who's been 6 years, you're special in some way. You're special to God. You have a very strong spirit team that absolutely loves you. Please connect with them. Don't block them out. Because here's the thing that is really important to understand. It doesn't matter how protected you are if the protection cannot get through. It doesn't matter how special you are if you jump in front of a car and keep doing so. You got to do some of it too, because you're here on earth and you're walking in a body and you got to protect the vessel. So you have to reach out. There are things that they want to say to you. There are things they want to communicate with you. There are secrets that they can only tell you that they can't tell me to come on tell you on camera, because if they tell me, now your gang stalker knows. Now everybody knows. But they can get to you if you tap in. If you say, I'd like to have a dream tonight, or communicate with me, or tell me. They'll tell you and it'll shock you. And that is the beginning of your journey. That is the beginning of your relationship. Do not let spiritual leaders make you think that they are the be all or end all, or the conduit or the connection by which you go through God. This is a direct pipeline. You don't even need a church. You don't need a congregation. You'll hear pastors say, oh, that's why it's important to be in a church. No, churches started from this thing to control. Oh, I can speak to God a little bit clearer. I may have a gift that's different, so now I'm going to help. No, you are encouraged to take this journey on your own, to connect on your own, to not be paying people to learn how to cleanse. You think, I don't want to knock anybody. People need to make their money and whatever. But I think it's for free. It should be for free. That you should know how to take care of yourself, clean yourself, connect to God, be the highest version of yourself. I think we would all be a lot more responsible with spell work if we knew that when we send somebody spell work, that their spirit team would come and handle us because they're in contact with them. You don't even have to do anything. You just have to be in contact with them. That's it. You just have to tap them in, like in wrestling. And that is probably what I'm going to call this live. You have to tap them in. You have to reach your hand out and tap them in so that they could come in here. What happens in wrestling? One person's getting beat up inside the ring, and they tap that other person in who is furious to get in there. And as soon as that person comes in, what happens? The problem is handled. This is why my channel gets attacked. It's one thing that they're just blocking it from you because they can step in front of it, they can push it away, but they can't even handle this problem because you haven't tapped them in. So we spend way less time. If you've been following along with my lives, it kind of moves like a curriculum. It moves through feelings and emotions and phases. We are out of the phase of like checking every time something bad happens and this happened and that happened and they did this and it's real, it's happening. I'm validating that for you. We all know it's happening. The police know it's happening. The judges know it's happening. All of these people are being gang stalked. All of them are bribed. All of them are. So it's fine. Everybody knows it. You're not a liar. It's fine. You are the one that didn't know about it, but other people involved, they know about it. It's true. It's happening. We're out of that phase. We're out of the phase of noticing everything. We're putting our attention in the direction that it needs to be on God and walking this path, walking out of here. Incrementally, slowly, one step at a time, however it goes. It's the fact that the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one. So you're going to have to take the first step and you have to tap them in and start your spiritual journey. That is how you get out of here. With their assistance, they're going to walk you through it. There is no such thing as being behind. Maybe you had to wait for the right people to wake up or for things to happen, and that's okay. Who is that? Is that Olive? And that's okay. So I just wanted to leave you guys with this message. I hope it touched you. I hope you know that you're not alone. I hope you know that the people that come on here that also give advice, we are also either still suffering or have suffered but have come a long way on our journey. That everything you're going through is normal on this journey, and that if you do it the right way, you will come out all the better than you started, and that you don't want to go back to your old life, those old relationships, those old people. None of it. God has better ahead of you, waiting for you. And if something is meant to be on your path, it will be on your path. Take your time with yourself. That is my message for tonight. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. And look at this. I'm going to have to do this whole thing. 2 pages of notes. I'm going to have to do this whole thing another day. Somebody here hopefully needed to hear that you are absolutely not alone. If you only knew how many spirits was listening to every single thought and are prepared to grant every single wish, you would never think that you are alone. You can't be alone. Nothing is hidden spiritually. Everything people do, there's a billion people with gifts spiritually that saw the whole thing in 4K. I'm telling you, nothing is hidden spiritually. Your thoughts, your feelings, nothing. So if human beings can tap into that, spirits can. God is with you. You're not alone. And I just want to actually read my spirit cards and my crystal cards because I was about to forget it. Some lives I forget to do this. I forget to pull these cards. Let me grab one. This is my favorite deck. It's called the Spirit Messages. I keep getting these cards. Let me see if I get anything else. Okay, let's see that one that popped out. That's the one I was supposed to get. So this card, I keep getting these same cards over and over, and sometimes I don't like reading cards that I get all the time. It's like murky energy. This says, trust the wait. You are being prepared for your blessings. In order to receive, you have to be ready to receive. Things you are going through now are not random. Trust the flow of the universe. Now, is that not the card that is on theme with what we're talking about? Yes, it is. And that is the card that was supposed to come out. And let me see what crystals come out. If you're looking at me, I am buried in crystals because I love crystals. And I said that I'm going to own every crystal at some point. I'm trying not for that to happen too quickly. It's a lot of crystals. I only have so much space on my body to wear crystals, but I love crystals. They are workhorses. They do work for you that you don't want to do yourself. Honestly, it would be much harder for you to do yourself. So I always talk about crystals on this channel. Crystals are for healing. Witches use crystals. People use crystals in all sort of scenarios. So, okay. The card that came out is Malachite, the crystal of personal transformation. It's one of my favorite crystals, Malachite. It's one of the first crystals that I got into. Malachite is an emotional healer, breaking outworn patterns, outdated patterns, breaking outworn patterns and unwanted ties, especially with people who drain your emotional energy or previous partners. Malachite releases toxic emotions and inhibitions, encouraging free expression of feelings. The release of a previously repressed emotion may induce a catharsis and require additional stones, such as smoky quartz, to calm the situation. And no TI in the history of TIs should ever be without a smoky quartz. You should not be without obsidians. You shouldn't be without tourmalines, bloodstones, selenites. These are lapis lazuli, rose quartz. Like there are stones that are just mandatory for you to have, but smoky quartz is one of the biggest ones. It will calm anxiety. It will block psychic attacks. It will do everything. Malachite alleviates shyness and supports friendships. The stone strengthens the ability to process information, helping to understand difficult concepts. On the body, it helps with muscular and immune systems, joints, optic nerves, DNA, cellular structure, liver, and pain receptors. And in the spirit, it cleanses the soul, attunes to the angelic realm, and strengthens intuition and insight. So if that speaks to you, get you one of these. I hope I have been of help to you. Please like the video, share to people who might need it, subscribe. You know, as a TI, my channel is attacked nonstop. So it just helps the channel grow and helps people get the messages. I pray you have a good night, and just remember that God loves you.